My name's Anne-Marie Knowles. I'm the head teacher of a primary school in Ramsbottom, which is in Bury, Greater Manchester. We're a one-form entry school, 210 pupils on roll from reception to year 6. And I've been the head teacher 3 years, and I also have the role of senior mental health lead in school too.
Your school, Hazelhurst Primary, uses positive education and a strengths-based approach. Can you share what you've done with your amazing approach to strengths and how you're applying strengths in your school?
Yeah, so this is the latest strand of the wellbeing toolkit that we've applied and dipped into, and we started with CPD for the staff so that they understood the strengths, and we used the VIA character strengths survey for them to get a better understanding of their strengths, and that was a really useful buy-in to get the staff on board, because they liked that, they enjoyed finding out about them. And then I'm introducing the character strengths. We've decided that this academic year we're going to focus on 7 of them, rather than trying to implement too much at once. So I introduced the character strength alongside a book, because we try to link everything to stories because children can hook into them. So the character in the book will display one of the strengths, and we identify that in our whole school assembly at the start of the week. And then the children take their character strengths poster back to their classes and share that with their teachers to start the week off. And the teacher then uses that to look for that character strength in particular throughout their lessons. So we have our house point system in school that we obviously give awards for. And the children get a token, but we're naturally naming the character strengths. So the teacher will say, I noticed that you used brilliant teamwork there in that activity, and so I'm going to give you a house point. And the children try to look for them in one another as well and recognise those strengths in each other. So that's where it happens each day in lessons. Then we have our outdoor curriculum. So some of our classes are currently carrying out a unit of work outside, and we bring the character strengths into that work too. So for example, there's a particular challenge that they had to do, pretending that they were going to cross a river that was full of crocodiles, and they had to use some particular resources to get the whole class from one side to the other. And that was them practicing their character strength of teamwork to do that. And so the adults outside will reiterate what the character strength is, and the children will work towards that. And then at the end of the week, our celebration assembly, we give out certificates. So we've changed our certificates so that they're based on the character strengths. So the teachers will name 3 children who've shown those character strengths particularly well each week, and our parents are invited to those assemblies as well, so they're seeing the character strengths being talked about and heard. So we just make sure it's in everything that we do.
And what's the impact so far? Because you've just started this curriculum, haven't you?
Yeah.
What results are you seeing? What impact are you seeing so far?
It's children recognising the strengths in themselves and each other and naming them. And that's what's really nice to hear and see around school. And you might be talking to them, or they come to my office when they're sharing something, for example, a piece of work, and you hear that kind of language where someone will say, oh, I got it for teamwork, and that's one of our character strengths, and we're focusing on that character strength this week, aren't we, Mrs. Knowles? Or I saw somebody doing that. And that's what we want to do. We want the children to build up their self-esteem and their self-worth. We have weekly reflection time before our celebration assembly, and that's where the children just sit and talk about things that they've done well in the week. And we recognise that children won't all be picked to show their work or get a certificate in celebration assembly, but that doesn't matter, because they'll still find something at the end of the week that they've done well and recognise it. And that's where the character strengths are also coming into play, because children are naming things and recognising things that they've done well and that they're proud of.
I'm just blown away. But like, would you suggest this is a valuable intervention for other people wanting to have an evidence-based approach to wellbeing in their school?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, well, the search framework is very much evidence-based, isn't it? And from reading about that and the work that was done in developing the search framework, it shows how valuable it is, and done a massive piece of work, hadn't she? The waters into all these different wellbeing interventions, hadn't she? There were literally thousands of them, and they pulled it all. So that's what I was getting at. It is hugely evidence-based, isn't it?
And
it's
I think
tested.
I think some people can be skeptical, or they can be like, well, my children won't understand that vocabulary of prudence or appreciation. How have you taken this and run with it when not many others have yet?
Yeah. I think it is the buy-in from staff initially. Because we've been working really hard on active listening to our children, and also about empathy and having an empathic response to some of the behaviours that they might be displaying. And I think it marries up really well with those things. We're actively trying to look for children, look out for children's well-being and if their mental health might be slipping. So I think in order to do that, we need to be talking about the strengths, and you can so easily forget to talk about those things with children, can't you? And in a day in a school, it can be very busy. So by bringing that framework in, the character strengths, it means that I know that staff and children will be explicitly talking about things that will help them ultimately have good mental health and well-being. And it's not forgotten, or it's not pushed aside.
Yeah, so it keeps it top of the agenda, keeps it in the curriculum, and it's a sort of effective way of doing that.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is that we want our children to be happy, and unless you've got happy children, the learning's just an aside, because they're not going to learn if they're not feeling happy within themselves. So that's why it has to be top of the agenda, because we want our children ultimately to learn. So we need them to feel happy, feel connected, and feel like they belong. And I think the wellbeing toolkit has given me that way in to do that.